Hello everyone, this is Quinn, here finally with some of these sound tests. Took me a while to get set up for this. Haven't ever really shot video before. Today is the truth of it, and much less video that had to have good quality audio. So it just took me a little bit, and of course we have other things that we have to deal with day to day, but at least I'm getting some of them done now, and maybe we'll do more later, but this should get most of it out of the way. So I'm going to be moving the mic back and forth from kind of like where I am and then where the keyboard is. So when it's further away from me, I might be a little bit quieter, but it'll get better sound from the board. And if I forget to move it back and forth, sorry about that. So the first thing we're going to do is compare L2 switches on the polycarbonate version of the Mark 65 versus the aluminum version. That way they're two stock switches, linear L2s made by Durock, these switches right here, and we'll compare PC versus aluminum because that's a big question a lot of people have. And then we'll take a look at a couple other plate materials, actually just one, FR4, and then we'll look at a different type of switch, the Holy Panda, and then we'll also bring my Mark in that I've been using for a while, which has some modded switches. But for the most part, it's going to be stock switches because switches obviously sound different in your keyboard depending on how you mod them. So I'm mostly just going to use the same switch, the L2, in a couple of different variations, and that way you'll be able to see how the different materials change the sound. So let's bring the polycarbonate in. Okay, so here is the polycarbonate Mark. Should be obvious based on the see-through case, but regardless, the case is full polycarbonate. It's a silver aluminum plate, cat milkshake switches, and the linear L2 switch, stock switch. So I'm going to move the microphone down and type a little bit. Okay, now I'll bring in like the same, it's a good comparison because it's kind of like the same board, just aluminum now. There is a different keycap profile on it. It's of course GMK versus cat, but regardless, it's the same switch, and I think that's mostly what's important here. So this is now the space gray anodized aluminum, space gray aluminum plate, GMK keycaps, and the same stock Durock L2 switch. Okay, so I'm actually going to hit the keys a little bit without hitting the stabilize key because I feel like a lot of people do work to their stabilizers to reduce the chatter, and that kind of, I won't say it sounds bad, but you can just tell it's stock right now. So I'm just going to hit the main keys a little bit on this one, then I'm going to bring the polycarbonate version back in, and then we'll do a side-by-side comparison of the two, hit them both, and then you can maybe just hear it better if they're not separate in the video. Okay, that was really weird trying to type without the space bar. So now I'll bring them both in frame. Well, I spoke too soon. Bring them both kind of in frame. And now we will do a little bit of comparisons. So I'll hit them both a little bit and you can decide. Remember, they're both stock L2 switches, aluminum plate, nothing is lubed, nothing is modded. And mostly what you're looking for here is a difference in sound between the polycarbonate case and the aluminum case. So I think they both sound really, really nice, especially with stock switches. It's obviously a different sound, but it's also worth saying that I'm really not an expert at sound. Until very recently, I haven't even modded switches. It's nothing I've really, really focused heavily on or paid a lot of attention to. So I don't know if this is necessarily accurate, but it probably also sounds different just because of a GMK keycap versus a cat keycap. I'm assuming there's a different weight and the sound acts differently in the cap, etc., etc. So, but I'm just trying to do the most fair comparisons possible between Alu and PC, and I don't have two cat sets, and I actually also don't have two GMK sets that can fill out the board. Most of our sets are ortho or ergo sets, so this is the best I could do. So I'm going to cut the video now. I'm going to go switch these out into some other cases and put it in the FR4 plate as well, and then come back and record some more. Hello everyone, we are back. I just went and swapped out some switches and some keycaps and built some different variations. Mostly these are going to focus on FR4 plates in this section. So let's get into it. This first one we're going to take a look at is the Space Gray Mark again, and this has GMK on it, and this is an FR4 plate with Holy Panda switches. So FR4 plate with Holy Panda switches. Okay, next up, going to bring in the black anodized aluminum. This has XDA canvas on it. This is using the split space configuration. And this has an FR4 plate with Durock L2s in it. By the way, the Pandas and these are both stock. They're not modded or lubed in any way. So this is the L2 switch on FR4 plate. Oh, forgot to move the mic closer. Okay, now I'm going to do a couple side-by-side comparisons. I didn't have enough Holy Pandas to do an entire board with, or at least I couldn't find enough to do a whole board with an aluminum plate and a whole board with a FR4 plate, but I was able to do that with a L2. So let me bring in another case variation now. This is the silver, obviously, the silver anodized aluminum. I put the cat milkshake back on it, and this has the, kind of hard to see, honestly, but the 5-degree option on it. It just is too close to the camera to tilt. But this is a decent side-by-side because we're going to be able to see, it is a different keycap profile, of course, but we'll be able to see the FR4 plate with L2 here, and then an anodized aluminum plate with the L2 here. Now, do keep in mind there's a couple different things that it's not a perfect side-by-side comparison, unfortunately, because it is a different keycap profile, which could change the sound. And it also is using a 5 degree, which I don't think it should change the sound too much, but I know some people get into the nitty-gritty of this, so it isn't the perfect side-by-side, but it's the best I could do. So again, this is L2 aluminum, and this is L2 FR4. Oh my gosh, I didn't move the mic down. Okay, so there's one other. No, we actually. Or no, we can do this. So this is. Might be useful. I thought we already did this, but we didn't. If we bring this back, this board had the Holy Pandas in it on an FR4 plate. So what I did here, just so I could do a quick little comparison, is the alphas, like in through here, all have Holy Pandas in them. Holy Panda, Holy Panda. And then up here, the number row has L2s in it. So here we can just take a look at the FR4 plate with the L2 and the Holy Panda. So you can take a look at a linear and a tactile. And I'm just going to switch it up and you can hear the difference. So again, the alphas are Holy Pandas, and the numbers are the linear, the L2. So, Holy Panda, linear L2. Okay, so the final board I'll show you in at least this edition of the sound tests is going to be the prototype board I've been using, and that's this space gray unit. This was one of the first prototypes. A prototype we received in the first batch, and there was a couple little issues with it and some edits we made. One is the spacing of the keys, like I said in the update post. Not the spacing of the, not the stagger of the keys, but just the tolerances around the keys. We changed that. We also changed the location of a couple screws, but I still use it. It works absolutely fine. This is going to be an example of lubed switches, and they're also modded. So they have lighter springs in them. I prefer much lighter springs. These are around a 30 gram, I believe. Maybe a 35 gram, I forget, to be honest with you. But regardless, they are spring swapped, and they are also lubed. So they are L2 switches, lubed with 2050, and much lighter springs. But it's a good sound, and I figured I'd include it. Hey, I went ahead and cut the video there. I kind of started rambling. But I appreciate you watching, and I had a lot of fun making this. Maybe we'll do a couple more videos in the future. Maybe it's about the Mark or other products, but it was cool kind of delving into this and learning a little bit about video, so I definitely like to do more. Talk to you here in the comments section if you have questions, or feel